we're gonna have to take a draw, because we got a lot of Faeria here. Hey! Wow, 11 Faeria, that's perfect! What a perfect top deck, oh my god. That couldn't have come at a better time. Hello everyone, welcome back to another card review. Today we're taking a look at Celeste, the Crystal Dragon. And this card is a 6/6 flying, charge 2, protection and haste legendary. Now all of that right there is very A tier material. However, if you look at the condition it requires to pull this off, you need to have one copy of a card in your deck. And unfortunately for Celeste, that's gonna bump him all the way down to D tier. Now, why did I slot this down so far just for this one condition? And new players might not be aware of how important consistency in decks are. Typically, if you look at any high-ranking decks, they'll all have many 3 of copies of cards, and that is very important when you're deck building for a lot of reasons. Consistency in the mulligan, just consistency in drawing into those good cards in your game. You have a more consistent game plan overall, and Faeria, compared to other card games at least, doesn't actually have a very large card pool, and balance wasn't considered for every card either. There's a lot of very bad cards in Faeria. There's a lot of very good cards as well, but there's not enough to justify a deck of 30 individual cards. That is very difficult to pull off, and that's where Celeste suffers. However, when you do draw into Celeste, Celeste can sometimes single-handedly win you games. Now you might be losing very drastically due to the rest of your deck, but if you draw Celeste early, then it kinda stomps. This 6/6 charge 2 protection is absolutely insane value. Your opponent can't predict this coming whatsoever. It's really difficult to predict when you're against a Celeste list anyways. So the Celeste itself is very strong, but the list as a whole isn't gonna win you very many games. But we'll take a look at it anyways. There was a couple requests in my comment section of past videos, and it's an interesting card to take a look at for sure. So, having said those two things that I just mentioned, that Celeste is very powerful, but the rest of your deck is not very powerful, that's gonna mean that we need to build a deck solely around drawing into Celeste and being able to play Celeste. So that means we need, in my opinion at least, I haven't played around with Celeste a lot, so take all this with a grain of salt. It's not a very competitive card, so none of the competitive players have really put a lot of effort into deck testing with this. But in my opinion, you need a deck with a very low land count so that you can open up your power wheel to draws and +1s, because Celeste, you want to dig for as much as possible in your deck, but it's also very expensive. It's a 10 cost, and ideally, we want to play this more than once. That's where Celeste shines, is this other ability where it shuffles back into your deck to be used once more. So it's going to be really important to keep our land count low and include a lot of neutral creatures as well to make up for this, because again, we've got to come up with 30 individual cards, and there's just not 30 individual good cards in some mono color. So to give you a little brief idea of what some good neutral cards you can include in a deck are, here are some of my suggestions. Time of Legends is kind of a must, in my opinion. I mean, it's the easiest card that can tutor for your Celeste. Campfire, Falcon Dive, Emperor's Command, all very classic and cheap cards. These were very strong cards way back when Faeria didn't have any DLCs or extra cards. Outland Ranger, also tacking on that Campfire, but also providing you with a starting creature, and you'll see once we get into the deck list that starting creatures are difficult to come by. Especially, we got Lost Explorer, another starting creature, and a very excellent body. It only requires 1 wild land, but 3 cost 3/3 is pretty decent, and then it's got this extra corrupt ability tacked on there, so it's a very good card. Horsemaster, always good. We need mobility, and mobility is going to be difficult to come by in a singleton deck as well. And the Imperial Trooper, also a very solid neutral card. So let's take a look at an example list that I've built for you here today. Now, you might be wondering, can I build a list without just having singleton cards? And as a brief aside, singleton is also known as Highlander. If you hear that name sometimes, that comes from other card games. It also just means singleton. But do we actually need singletons, or can we include extra copies? And I would say no, generally, because again, you have to play around the Celeste, and if you're having multiple copies of cards in this list, it becomes very, very difficult to actually consistently pull Celeste and drop it down. This is the best option we have, is just 30 single cards. And that just has to be the deck. So this is a mono green list. I think mono green is pretty solid because we've got access to many different buffs, and most of the buff cards are actually pretty decent. We've got like Shamanic Dance, we've got Elderwood Embrace, Runin's Guidance. They're all very good. And then I just included some solid green bodies in here as well. So if you are new to the game, by the way, this might be a great opportunity to see good green cards that you might want to craft in your list, because these are cards you don't typically see in regular green lists, but because we're on 30 cards, of course, we have to deviate into some other territory. But all of these cards here are quite decent, in my opinion. You might notice the Emerald Yak down there. That's not seen that often in non-Yak decks, but it's a very good card for what it gives, as long as you're building neutrals. And in this list, you are going to be building neutrals because we only have a max land count of 3. Remember, I said we want to keep that land count low, but double neutrals can also help us get our Celeste into double collection spots. So we're going to be playing double neutrals quite often. We also have this Freedom Fighter in here, and I included Freedom Fighter because it just pairs quite nicely with buffs. It's very expensive, but we can use double neutrals, which we're already going to be using in the list, to get this in a more aggressive spot and buff it up, potentially take out a big threat. And sure, it was expensive, but it's a surprise that our opponent's not expecting, much like the Celeste. It's kind of like a little baby Celeste, if you will. And then one other card I just want to take a look at here is the Runin Shrine. This card gives you 2 Faeria when it plops down, because remember, Celeste is quite expensive, so we do need some Faeria generation tools. And so Shrine is quite a good answer, even though if your opponent kills this, they get 2 Faeria. Just put this in a protective spot, it's fine. You're probably only going to play it when you're ready to play Celeste and stuff anyways. And it should be pretty protected with all your taunts and whatnot. We also have Destructive Volley in here, just for a little bit of extra removal. Green doesn't have very great removal options. Another reason Freedom Fighter's in there. So Volley is pretty decent as well. But I'm not going to talk about each individual card in here. Just know that they are quite solid, and hopefully we get to see most of them in the match. So let's get into it and see how Celeste does. Alright, so in the mulligan, we're going to look for pretty much anything with 6 Faeria or less and 2 lands or less, because that defines kind of a starting creature, except for things like Freedom Fighter, which is more of a trick. Now what I might actually do is do a full mulligan here, in hopes to find Celeste or Time of Legends. Those are the most important cards. And considering we only have 1 starting creature here, I think it's more than fine. We have a lot of starting creatures in this list. Partially to make up for consistency, but also to help us with, or lack of consistency, but also to help us with being able to aggressively mulligan like this for the Time of Legends, because we, as you can see, we have a creature still. So what shall we do? Do we fight? Or do we dodge sides? I think we can fight with the, actually Lost Explorer. I was thinking about the Emerald Yak, but this is a better surprise tool in the later game. So we'll just drop the Lost Explorer there. If we top deck a Horse Master in the future, he's lined up to conquer some lands. We got Aridin. So we are going to try and dodge that Aridin as much as possible. One issue, I don't particularly want to drop this Emerald Yak, because I want to be able to step back, if at all possible. On the other hand, we did top deck that command. We do have a buff as well to fight this Aridin, so maybe I actually don't care too much. Yeah, we'll set up another collector, why not? Now our opponent's playing a slower list. We might have to be a little bit aggressive. But I do like setting up double collection just to help our Faeria troubles when we draw into that Celeste. Of course, it's a lot less likely in mono green because we don't have those. We only have like Time of Legends to draw into it, so we've got 2 chances, but it should be fine. So yeah, let's double neutral up like this. And then let's pass. Could drop the Zephyr actually. So we can set up the Zephyr by stepping it away from the forest, and then it's able to teleport back. I actually don't mind that too much. We'll drop it now. Because I don't want to build too many forests, especially close to each other. We got a maximum 3 forest land count in this list, right? So we gotta make our 3rd forest count. So if we do a little setup play here... oh, actually playing a creature? I thought that the whole plan here was to kill off the Aridin, so I didn't expect anything to come down, but I mean, it's fine if something does. What was it? Kodama? Alright. Kodama's fine. Don't need to care too much about that. Though how are we going to answer it? We've got, I mean, essentially we could just buff. We could just buff, and then that blocks the Aridin actually as well, which is kind of funny. We might need to pre-command this though. Let's see. Because if we buff, that's on 7. He's only 1 buff away from killing it back, so we might have to throw in command as well. Not the end of the world. I actually might use this 3rd forest to block, now that I think about it. Yeah, we might do this, because I don't want him getting aggro green creatures up in my face. So we are going to invest that 3rd forest there, which also gives me a nice little teleport spot for next turn. We'll do a taunt and just pass. Don't need to hit. Well, we're going to command, but we don't need to hit in or anything. Because we want to stall here. Our goal is to stall until we can drop Celeste, hopefully, or maybe we draw into other big stuff. We are against mono green, so we don't have to worry too much about like things like Humbling Vision, Last Nightmare. So our Verduran Forest in the future should be pretty safe. Anything we draw off Seek Shelter. And yeah, there's the pre-hit, and now we've made it super awkward for this little Aridin here. Because now he's got to invest another land if he wants to collect and still be in an aggressive spot. Or you step back passively, and you really want that Aridin to be traded off. Oh, building the land over there? Voice of Truth. Oh, okay. Interesting. We're gonna have to take a draw, because we got a lot of Faeria here. Hey! Wow, 11 Faeria, that's perfect! What a perfect top deck. Oh my god. That couldn't have come at a better time. That is such a good top deck. Oh my god. Wow. Top deck of the century. This just cleans everything up beautifully. We will step up, do this. We are just gonna take this trade since the Aridin's gonna die anyways. And we get to corrupt, we get to value trade, keep our little 3-1 alive. Wow, we're actually going to use this teleport as well since nothing's really happening on right side. Neat little trick about the Vulpine if you didn't know. You can actually step into enemy forests and still get this teleport ability off. Yeah, that was just a game-winning top deck right there. Wow. I'm going to attempt to use this. Destructive Volley's not... Oh my god, another perfect top deck! Oh, that's so good. That's so good. We want to make sure we Ancient Bore first. Can I Ancient Bore anywhere relevant? Sadly, not, I guess. Can't really dash it anywhere aggressive. Maybe instead we hold on to the Bore for now. I would like it to be a bit more relevant. We could hold the Bore, because we do have this tower down. We can't just like tower the 3-4. I mean, It's nice to keep options open, but... Ancient Born now or later? Maybe I do play it now, I don't know. We push this taunt back a little bit. It's fine. We'll just get the value now. Probably want to take a draw, I just realized. There's the draw. Do that. Step this up, step onto the land. No need to teleport. We'll plop it down because I want to keep this open to put on something else next round. I don't want to like choke myself out and force myself to need to buff this Vulpine. Actually gonna take out that Celeste, so he's being shuffled back into our deck. Alright, so time to find Celeste number 2. Get another Seek Shelter. We got a Freedom Fighter. We could take this out. Is that worth it? I guess. I mean, it's not a bad opportunity, I guess. So let's double neutral over. Take away one collection this way. We got a 5/5 out of it. Sure, why not? Step up, step up, step up. No need to buff anything. 7 Faeria removal for a 4-cost. Swordfish. Don't think it's gonna be quite enough to deal with all of this stuff. Oh, that's a voice of truth of my own. What's Swordfish normally? 7, so we can deal 3 damage with this. 7. I mean, it's worth it, right? Could even volley for the extra. No, we want to buff. Let's see. This goes to 6, 9. I do kind of want to keep drawing. Or even double neutral between wells. It doesn't really matter what I do at this point, to be honest. So let's just voice. We'll give a little pre-buff. We'll keep as much stuff alive as possible, sure. This is 3 Faeria, 1 damage. Maybe that isn't worth it, actually. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll do it this way. Then we can smack face. Right. I guess I could teleport. No, I can't tell. Yeah, it's fine. I can't teleport to enemy lands. I have to teleport to a friendly land. So this game should be closed out. Should be pretty difficult for our opponent to come back on board. Drops a 7 life creature. We do have a buff on board, able to take that out. Drop a Grove Guardian. We have to build a forest for that, I guess. Sure. Take that out. We'll build a forest productively on an ocean space. Then we'll step onto the neutral. Step up, step up, step up, step up. Alright. So this game came down to like drawing Celeste super early in the game. If you don't draw Celeste super early, oftentimes you can get kind of bogged down by your opponent's reasonable deck against your unreasonable deck. I think we would have been fine potentially in this matchup. Mono green is generally the easier one to bully because they don't have as many tricks. It plays very fair. I mean, I guess technically this list is going to be better than mine though, so could have gone either way, but I think we would have been able to stall enough until we drew into Celeste, at least midway through the game. But there's a good example of Celeste, so let's move on to the next Celeste list. Alright, so on to our second list here. Now I picked mono green and mono blue, just because mono green I think has just really solid bodies. I mean, mono green is all about stats really, so it's hard to go wrong when you're not worried about abilities, you're just worried about stats. And mono blue I've picked because mono blue has a lot of selective drawing, or tutors as we call it. And of course that's going to be really good for Celeste. So we've got access here to Curious Biomancer, which draws non-blue creatures. which includes Celeste, because he's neutral. Now you do have to worry about not including too many neutral cards in this type of list, so I've only included 3. We've got Outland Ranger, Lost Explorer, and the Celeste, which I think is pretty reasonable. You could drop that down even further if you want to guarantee your Biomancer to draw the Celeste, but I think hoping for 3 neutral creatures is pretty reasonable. And then blue has a lot of solid bodies as well, because we've kind of got 2 archetypes in this color. We've got the jumpers, the standard jumpers like Triton Warrior, Triton Trainer, all of the Triton guys. But then we've also got the 7s archetype in the form of Gabrian Commander and Gabrian Warden. And these cards are pretty good in this list, I think. Because we do have that selective drawing, we can choose when we want to draw that Celeste. So if we have Time of Legends in hand, we could even hold on to that Time of Legends until we play Gabrian Commander, play the Time of Legends right after, and then we've got a guaranteed flip. Now normally in 7's list you don't have this guarantee because you don't have selective drawing like this. You just kind of have to pray that you're going to draw into the right 7's cards to flip your commanders. But Time of Legends and Curious Biomancer both help to flip this commander. We've also got the Spring Mochi in here. Now you might be looking at this and saying, well, there's not very many 7 drops in here. We got Mirror Phantasm, we got Windfall, we got Colossus, and we got Celeste, and that's about it. And that's true, but remember we want to play Celeste as much as possible. So ideally we're going to be playing it more than once. So Spring Mochi's absolutely fine in this. Again, we've got that selective drawing, so we can actually get this discount pretty early on, hopefully, as well. We drop the Spring Mochi in the early game, it collects up a bit for us, and then we Time of Legends into Celeste, and bam, we just got a free Spring Mochi, essentially. And then Faeria generation tools we need, of course, as well. So we've got that Windfall, and then we've also got Triton Sanctuary. And these are probably the best cards, in my opinion. You might be able to fit Failed Experiment if you include some like extra gift creatures or something. But these are the best Faeria generation tools, in my opinion. I wouldn't run the Gabrian Cistern because this is kind of just a bad card. It's really difficult to protect and pop off. So, but Triton Sanctuary is a lot less of an investment. You only invest 2 Faeria, and it's really easy to control when you can collect all that Faeria back. And like I mentioned in the last list, this is just because Celeste is super expensive if we want to play it multiple times, so we need that extra little Faeria generation, in my opinion. We've also got a 4-land deck in this list, as opposed to the last one, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive overall, but we do only have Curious Biomancer and Frogify and Tide Lord as our 4-land cards, so having 3 4-land cards isn't the end of the world. We can just hold until we reach there. We've also got 1 Water Ellie to maybe help with this, I don't know, something like that. Mono Blue also has access to some very nice removal tools. We've got Frogify and Humbling Vision both. It's got some nice mobility tricks, which can also be a form of removal in some scenarios. We've got both Sunken Tower and Shifting Tide. So I think blue, being as flexible a color as it is, where it's got all these different answers to things and very specific answers to things, like between Sunken Tower and Shifting Tide, typically those 2 cards are meant for different purposes, but also allowing mono blue to still have that land movement, but they essentially do the same thing for us, so it brings a little bit of consistency to the list, in a list that isn't consistent. So I think mono blue is a very strong color, so that's why I picked this to be the sample list. So let's get into the match and see how it does. Alright, wow, we got a Water Ellie. That's a pretty lucky top deck going second. But yeah, same thing as the last deck, we're going to look for 6 or lower costing creatures with 2 or lower land counts. Wow, what a great hand here. Game is just feeding me amazing cards. I think I'm going to keep this, just because of how good it is. We could ditch the Explorer, but I think Explorer plus Sunken Tower is actually kind of a neat combo. So we won't try and hard mulligan for Time of Legends or Celeste this game either. I think we did it last game. I play a bunch of different games during these to try and get a good match. So sometimes my memory is shaky on what actually happened in the last match. So we're gonna do the classic water Ellie start. We're gonna go opposite side. We do have Mystic Beast and Wave Crash Colossus to build up to. So just like standard blue jump, we're gonna try to nab that well spot. Wow, this is just looking like a classic blue jump list. How about that? Yeah, I think I'm actually just gonna go Lake. Triton Warrior we probably drop down because we're playing against red. Now hopefully there's no like, I mean Firestorm doesn't hurt us too much. So the plan here is to use Sunken Tower to get this to the well. Those are typical jumping lands, but oh, it's Bold Bargainer. Okay, that's gonna be a little trickier actually. Oh, plus a lake. All right, that's gonna be a little bit more manageable then. Another thing we could do is clear this, but I think I like my collections a little better. Can always take this out in the future. So we'll go for Sunken Tower. This is going to mess up our Gabrian Archon in the future, but in these singleton type of lists, you always want to play to your hand. This is a good advice for Pandora as well. You always want to play to your hand as opposed to playing for what's in the rest of your deck, because it's just too difficult to play for what's in the rest of your deck. It's too much of a gamble for that single card we're looking for. Now, we either go Trainer, just tack on more jumpers, or we could go Lost Explorer, try and get a sneaky little land off, but he might drop, like, a creature to contest. So what I might do, actually, is just draw. We only got 2 cards in hand, so we'll just draw. And then probably pass. I don't want to play too hard into, like, Garridan. I mean, this isn't a great Garridan for Bert, if we drop this down, but we'll do it anyways. Spring Mochi coming down. Okay. So now I guess we can take out, I mean, taking out the 3/4 doesn't really do anything, to be honest. Perhaps we just drop the jumper like we wanted to, and then we threaten this space. We could double neutral just to smack face. That's an option. So let's do it up this way. Play at our range of stuff. I actually probably want the 3/3 over here. This helps value trade. So we'll do it like this, do it like this. And then yeah, we'll just leave a jumper left over to collect in this place. And again, I don't want to play super hard into Gary. Maybe I'm thinking about it, overthinking it too much, but Lost Explorer is an option. Okay. I'm actually I'm kind of cool with this. It plays into Firestorm, but I mean with Bold Bargainer it's kind of unlikely there's Firestorm. So the Lost Explorer helps me threaten a land produced here. If this person wants to go back and defend the 4/4, it discourages the land being produced there. But perhaps they're just fine to drop a creature there. So debating, stepping up. These jumpers giving a lot of threat range here. So the list actually shaped out to be quite nice. I think I kind of got lucky with top decks. But on the other hand, there are a lot of great blue creatures, like I mentioned. The only one that's like kind of meh is like the Triton Tactician. Triton Tactician's not super good. Boy, do I have an answer for you. Is making me pick. No, I don't need to pick. I've got a Sunken Tower. Does kind of suck for this. Okay, how do I want to answer this? Cause I kind of prefer taking out the Bold Bargainer, to be honest. That prevents a few things. Oh, no, I can't. Yeah, so if we double neutral this way, take this, we get to collect twice and collect off an enemy well. That's pretty huge. We will collect back. We're gonna have to pre-buff this, hope for no Cypher's Wrath, but it's probably fine. Sure. A little sketchy keeping the 3-5 alive, but this lets me collect a lot. Not playing into Gary super hard. I guess I kind of am, but I'll be alright, right? Maybe we don't play Mystic Beast just because I mean, I've not played around Gary this far. Maybe we just do it. I'll just dump the Mystic Beast, sure. Why not? Give a little pre-buff to protect against the 3-5. Now, one thing that could happen is the Triton Chef's card, the Triton Banquet. Although we kind of land blocked him. So maybe that can't happen, actually. Did a pretty good job with our lands there. Hellfire. Okay, well, I guess I'm glad that I played a lot of creatures. Wow! That was a super lucky Hellfire. Took out 3 things with this board? Jeez. I mean, I guess you average 1 damage on everything. Maybe it's not that lucky. The Elden Ranger was mildly lucky, especially since that was my collector on left side. So that was mildly lucky. We took out the boss for pretty much free, though. Just a campfire. So we'll probably build a lake here, since we need that 4th lake. Only 1 card in hand. Gemshell Tortoise. Ooh. Actually, getting value on that Gemshell Tortoise. Interesting. So build us lake. Don't really want to step into trade range though. So we might just attack with the beast, be a little passive. Archon can go defensively. There's an option to put it aggro. Putting it aggro might deter this from stepping up, but unlikely. I haven't played any 10 costs so far. Yeah, we can just dump this back. Wow, like I said, this is gonna mess up my future Archon, and we drew into the Archon. But that's okay, that's okay. Yeah, we'll just do it like this. We'll hop back, threaten this space. Just requires us to build more lands, which I don't particularly want to do, but the aggression's kind of nice, especially when our opponent's playing a greedy list. If we go more passively, defensively, we might actually lose the long game. Got a Bold Bargainer off of the Tortoise, so there's another one of these coming. Apparently didn't hit anything super useful. I think I'm not going to Frogify. I could Frogify. We have a Tide Lord. You can Tide Lord on left side. We do give him double collection, but I don't know if I want to Frogify this one either. So we can Frogify. I think we draw. I mean, oh no, we need the land. Because the issue is if something more scary comes down, but can use it like a tempo Frogify. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Sure. We'll do a tempo Frogify. So we'll build this land. Frogify. I guess we'll hop this over. Yeah, our Archon is more important to keep alive because, yeah. Yeah, the tempo play there is absolutely fine. Wait, I should have played the Tide Lord first. Oopsie. Oopsie, let's just step this way. I'll drop you there. Alright, he has the trainer buff as well. Nice. I mean, this should close out the game. I don't know what I'm worried about, something coming down being frogified. Or something that I can frogify. Yeah. 7 Faeria though, and we got another Bold Bargainer coming, so probably... it probably didn't hit the other one. Oh, there's the Gary that I wanted to play around. It's gonna do a lot of damage. Is it gonna be enough? I don't know. He's got 4, plenty to play that next Bold Bargainer. And we are short 1 damage. So that's gonna be unfortunate. But not the end of the world. We just sidestep, and if nothing else comes down, I mean, probably the Bold Bargainer comes defensively, right? I guess if that does happen, then we take the Bold Bargainer instead, because we want to more or less try and guarantee this lethal, but just play a little bit into, like, Hellfire. Oh, it's a Spring Mochi. Oh, get out of here, Spring Mochi. I had a feeling we might, like, finish this game with Celeste. But let's take a draw, because we're a little bit... Oh, we're a little bit off Celeste here. Yeah, I think we will take the 2-2, because this is going to force an answer out of our opponent. Even though it's, like, the worst pick, essentially. It's going to force an answer out of our opponent. We'll drop the Commander as well to play around Hellfire a little bit. Am I worried about Firestorm is the next question. Probably not. They've gone for Spring Mochi and Bold Bargainer to try and discount, like, big things. Spring Mochi and Bold Bargainer kind of competing against each other, though. It's kind of a strange combo. But I would guess that they're going hard for, like, 7s instead of Firestorm. So that would be my guess. If I'm wrong, then this is gonna hurt. But it's not gonna hurt that bad, because we do have this free haster in hand. So, and this huge setup on right side with our neutrals. So if there is Firestorm, if there is an answer to everything here, I mean, it's still playing it out, so it must have an answer. It's an Ice Rock. I think that's gonna be enough. Yep, alright. That's gonna be it. That's awesome. So didn't get to see Celeste that time. Well, we did get to see Celeste, I guess. He popped up in the end there, and was a sort of back pocket win condition in case there was answers to our entire board here. But more or less, the deck was pretty good. So hope you enjoyed. Let me know what cards you want to see next in this card review series, and I'll see you next time.